Hello students and a very warm welcome to all of you. Students, please confirm if I am audible and visible to all of you. Online students, please confirm. Please comment section on कर दीजिएगा. Students, please confirm if I am audible and visible to all of you. Please check if comments are visible. Show comments on stage. All right. Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you for confirming. Thank you, Lakshmi. Thank you, everyone. So I hope your preparations are going well. So before we begin the session on data-driven strategy for your UPSC prelims, I do want to ask you one question. How many of you are attempting prelims in 2026, and how many of you have actually prior experience as well? So for those who have this will be as first attempt, please confirm in the comment box so that I know whether which kind of demography I'm dealing with. All right. Thank you, Sami. So this is going to be the first attempt for you. What about others? Okay. So basically, all right. So what are the challenges that you have faced? Maybe someone who have given attempts earlier as well. So what are the major challenges that you have faced in prelims? We'll take your queries at the very end because there are so many comments. I'm not very sure about your particular query right now, right? So, okay, please let me know whatever challenges you have faced in prelims preparation so that we can discuss all those and try to use data to actually solve those issues. Okay, Siddharth, thank you for you cannot complete the syllabus itself. All right, very valid reason. You do not have data consolidation. What kind of data are you talking about? What's your name? God Q5Y. Students, please comment so that it can be an interactive session. I want this session to be again two-way communication. Okay, Arun, thank you for clarification. So yes, so someone is asking, sir, there is a lot of material to revise, and again, you do not know how to use all that material very efficiently, right? And again, this is a very genuine question. So many of you must have struggled with this, and I hope in this very session we will try to again take up all these issues, and we'll see how we can actually use data to solve all your issues. So before we begin, a brief introduction about me. I'm Shashank Gupta, program head of Step Up Mentorship Program. Over the years, we have so many students, so many aspirants, so many toppers, and based on that only, whatever I'm going to discuss, again, it's my observation as well, but again, based on the results across the years of various students who have cleared and as well as who has not cleared, I'm going to present some specific data points in this very session. Okay, data from newspapers and magazine. This is one of your queries. So basically, first thing is I have consolidated something for you, the challenges that every aspirant faces in UPSC prep, specifically when they are dealing with prelims preparation. So first thing is many, specifically the people who are starting just starting their preparation, they get confused, because there is a lot of advice, a lot of material, a lot of copies going on, right? And it actually confuses almost all the aspirants. So they come to believe that everything under the sun can be asked in prelims. However, if you have cleared prelims, or at least you have analyzed prelims question papers over the years, you will understand, although there is no detailed syllabus, but yes, there are some patterns that you can recognize, right? So that will be the agenda of this session. Second major challenge, my dear students, as some of you mentioned, is vast syllabus, right? So basically you have to cover economy, polity, history, geography, environment, and whatnot, right? So covering everything in this time bound manner becomes more challenging, right? And this is why I believe, along with this gestation period of this exam, the depth of the syllabus is, because of that, UPSC is one of the toughest examinations, right? How many of you agree that, if what's the difference? Basically, we read NCRTs, right? Many of you may have read NCRTs. So we have been reading NCRTs since our childhood. But what makes this exam different, right? So you have to read all the subjects, and the gestation is very long for this exam. And this is what makes it one of the toughest ones. Third thing is, this exam is very dynamic. So UPSC is not just selecting candidates. Its goal is to select officers who can serve the nation. And as you know, being a democratic, developing nation, we are a vibrant democracy. And because of that, there are so much happening in our country, not just in country, around the world. Everything changes very quickly. So you have to adapt. And that is one of the core skills that they are trying to find out in these candidates. So again, this dynamic nature of the paper, it itself built in the philosophy of UPSC, what they are trying to, again, ask, right? So dynamic nature is there. So every year or some other year, they evolve the pattern, right? They evolve the nature of questions, right? Sometimes they will be focused on current, sometimes they will be focused on static and whatnot, right? So there is always evolution of the paper. Then, my dear students, the major challenge many of you face is you lack strategic focus. So many of you highlighted that there is a various kinds of study material, various noise in the market. So you cannot focus specifically what is needed. So first, many of you don't know what is needed. And even if you do, so you may have heard about toppers saying you have to cover your basics first, right? You have to revise again and again. But again, everyone knows it. Very few of you will be able to do this, right? Because every other day, there will be some new material, some new advice. So idea is, this again has become problematic. Then many of you comes from, I know many of you comes from arts background, so you are very good at articulation. However, when we ask you about your MCQ practice, many of you struggle, right? You may write very good essays or answers, but some of you actually struggle in test, in MCQs. So how many of you feel that you struggle in MCQ? Please comment, so that I know what are your issues. What about Siddharth, Arun, all others? What are the are you comfortable with MCQ type of questions, or you are more comfortable with subjective ones? Some of you are comfortable, some of you are not. So again, I know this based on the experience. I know many of you are not comfortable, right? Because you have not attended as much as a test that are required, right? In exam hall conditions, many of you may do good in practice papers, but again, in the exam hall, you panic. Why is that? Because you have not practiced enough. So lack of practice. And finally, this is what the major challenges. This again, this is what I have come to know based on the experience we have over the years. But now, how data can help us, right? This is the agenda of this session. So how data-based strategies can be actually a game changer for you. So first of all, let me show you how many actually students attempt UPSC Prelims. Let's take it as 10 lakh. How many make it to mains? 12 to 15,000 based on seats. And finally, around 1,000 every year make it to finalist. So prelims is the major filtering mechanism, right? This is the stage where they filter out, right? So this is the first data that you have to understand. Competition is immense. At the same time, you have to understand, out of these, 50% people do not actually go and write the exam. And that is, again, a reality. So maybe someone who is coming will see, okay, 10 lakh people are appearing, but finally, at the exam date, only half of them shows up. So your competition has reduced by half. Out of that 50%, I'll say 20 to 30% of the students are serious enough. Some people are here maybe just for the time pass. Some people are here basically maybe their family has asked them to. But at the end, only 20 to 30% people are serious enough. So this data tells us around 1 to 1.5 lakh students all over India are serious enough and are preparing seriously for this exam. So if you have this figure in mind, you will understand, okay, this is a doable job. It's not like it's rocket science. It is a doable job, right? Now, this is the first data point. Second thing is, suppose you make a mistake. You make a mistake X. Now, some of your seniors say, okay, you made this mistake because you did not do this. Some of your friends say, you made this mistake because you did not do this, right? You have all the advice. But finally, have you analyzed your paper? Have you analyzed the paper to see whether they are correct or whether you are correct? Or maybe you think your polity is good, but in exam hall, you are not able to get even 50% of the accuracy, right? How many of you feel this? That yes, you think you have a command over a subject, but when you actually got down to practice, you saw, no, it is not enough. How many of you have felt that? Arun, what about you? Ashwini, Siddhant? So have you felt that way? Yes. So what is missing? Yes, most of you, 95% of people feel this way. Because otherwise, you will not be here. Maybe someone who has given the attempt may already be selected because they have not done the analysis, and analysis will be done based on data only, right? So suppose you have attempted 90 questions or 80 questions. How many of these questions were correct? How many of these questions were incorrect? Out of those correct, how many of you were sure shot correct? How many of you were just a guesswork or even in incorrect answers? So thing is, without data, you will not understand whether you are good in a subject, whether this subject is a strong suit for you or a weakness for you, right? And that's why we need data, and that's why this data driven strategy is going to be game changer for you, right? Now idea is, based on the analysis of last 15 years papers, we have come up with this data. There's around, first of all, if I ask you what are the most important subjects, what are the 4 most important subjects or 5 most important subjects in UPSC prelims, please write in the comment box in the order of priority. Yes? So basically, you will realize someone who has attempted UPSC seriously will know polity is one of the most important subjects, not just for prelims but also for mains. But within polity, if you talk about polity, prelims specific polity, you will know Lakshmikant is the Bible, right? It is the most important source that you will find for the whole UPSC preparation. This is one of the only source which from which you have the confidence, okay, 80 to 90% of the paper will be there, right? So 80% of the polity paper can be predicted, right? You can already make some notes, revise it multiple times, and then can be sure, yes, I can do polity very well, right? Along with some previous year questions, to get the analytical understanding that UPSC expects, you may not need any other source, right? Obviously some current affairs, but again, out of 15, only in 2 or 3 questions maximum you will need that knowledge as well. But other than that, everything can be covered from your Lakshmikant only, right? So predictability of polity can be lifesaver for you. I have seen students who have scored 120s, 130s because polity is their strongest suit. And I've seen very good students failing in prelims because they had made blunders in polity. So my dear students, please comment and let me know whether in your previous attempts, polity played this role for you. Either it actually helped you clear the prelims, or it was, again, was a reason, one of the reasons why you could not clear prelims. What was your accuracy? If you have analyzed, please share with me what was your accuracy in polity questions. Have you analyzed? Have you analyzed what's your accuracy? How many of you do analysis after every prelims paper? What's the accuracy, Arun, for you? If I say out of 10 questions, how many of you of them are correct and how many are incorrect? All the students, all the participants, please participate so that I know better the problems you are facing. Based on that only, we'll take the flow of this session. Yes, it plays a key role. So do let me know in that. Second thing is, you have to understand the second major subject is, apart from polity, you have economics. In economics, obviously it is volatile, but at the end, 70 to 80% of the conceptual things you will not need to even revise. If you understand basically how repo rate works, or if FDI is coming, or if inflation is increasing, right? What will be the impact on consumers? Or if Fed Reserve of US is increasing their interest rate, how it would affect Indian economy or inflation? If you understand the basics, 50 to 60% of your work is done, right? Obviously, there is an element of current affairs in economics, but at the same time, the very basics. Even this year, they have directly asked 3 questions directly from one thing: primary deficit, etc. Right? And many people ignored these basics, and again, they could not be selected in prelims because of that. Right? You cannot do those blunders. Third thing is, my dear students, geography. Many of you actually neglect this, thinking geography is very vast. But I must tell you now, once and for all, that NCERTs form the base of geography, specifically your 11th NCERTs, right? 60 to 70% every year will be coming from NCERTs only. Don't go chasing around everything, but first you have to do NCERTs properly, right? So maybe you make 1 pages, maybe you make 1 pages for other like crops, rivers, etc. But at the end, you have to have command over NCERTs. Along with that, what you can do is, obviously you are reading newspapers, there will be some places in news, right? Or some volcanic eruption has occurred. So try to, again, use smartly, try to apply your mind and see how many volcanoes are there, how many active volcanoes are there, right? Something like that. So that will help you in geography. Then, my dear students, in science and tech, 70 to 80% of the questions can directly be linked to 12 months current affairs. Previously, whatever you are learning, these 12 months are more than enough, along with the basic things that you read, right? So there's nanotech, there's biotech. Biotech is one of the most important things, right? So if you are reading your current affairs properly in science and tech, you are good to go. I'm not saying neglect everything, but again, 1 or 2 questions you can leave. UPSC is not demanding you to score 200 marks. So idea is 12 months of current affairs along with some basic NCRTs, 4 or 5 chapters, then you are set for that. But again, I'll tell you in the broader roadmap ahead as well, there is utility of previous year and mocks as well, right? So this is about that. And finally, you have your environment paper. And based on data, you will see every year 12 to 18 questions are coming from environment. So at least these 5 subjects and at least the static part of that you can prepare beforehand, right? Then you have modern history. It will always be an advantage. Don't go around chasing some unpredictable questions. Suppose Deshar Katha was asked. So you need not read a new book for that. But your selection will not be there if you do Simon Commission incorrectly or Satyagraha incorrectly. So first thing is read your basics right. Data points that yes, if you are reading your basics right, you are on the correct path. Then, my dear students, you have to understand UPSC actually prefers cyclical approach. Every 3-4 years, they will be asking similar concepts, right? So sometimes they are talking about Earth's atmosphere. Sometimes they can talking about you can say money multiplier. Again, they will be asking that in future as well, right? So you can actually predict these kinds of questions if you are reading newspapers. And finally, what you need is based on data. You need smart elimination. I'm not saying elimination directly, but idea is whenever you have data with you, suppose you have practiced say 50, 60, 70 marks, and if something has worked for you in all those marks, probability is even in that exam hall it will work, right? Unless and until you have a very bad day, it will work, right? So you have to trust your judgment that you have practiced enough. Now you have to apply whatever strategy you have built for yourself, right? So that is there. Now if I talk about these specific important subjects, so I can tell you first you have to focus on high yield topics. What I mean by high yield topics, high yield topics are which will give you a lot of advantage without much efforts. So maybe polity is a bit lengthy, Lakshmikant is a bit lengthy, but if you analyze previous year questions, if you analyze the data, you will realize maximum those 10, 12, 15 chapters are more than enough, right? So if I give you say 1 hour or 2 hours to revise, which chapter would you revise? I hope all of you will answer the same thing. Which chapter will you revise if I give you time of say 1 hour before your examination in polity? Please type in the comment box. Right? So I hope you understand Parliament is one of the most important chapters. After that, you have fundamental rights, fundamental duties, DPSPs, emergency, president, Supreme Court, etc. So maximum 10-15 topics that you can make note of. Similarly, for geography, you have NCRTs, right? And then you try to make some micro notes on soil, forest, rivers, things like that. Similarly, in economics, RBI is one of the most important institutions. There will be questions around that. Monetary policy, fiscal policy, organization, and terms in use. This is the 80% thing that will be there in the examination along with the current affairs, obviously, right? So from the static part, you can cover these parts. Similarly, if I talk about environment, you talk about biodiversity, you read about conventions, then some policies and laws regarding that, then whatever is happening regarding climate change, then pollution, agriculture, and some unconventional sources of energy. Similarly, when you are reading current affairs, if something is coming, say with respect to tiger reserve or national park, take a note of that, right? Similarly, if some wetland is in news, take a note of that. If species in news, take a note of that. But again, these things will be difficult for everyone. It is not like it is difficult for you. So how would I compile everything? So you keep compiling and keep revising. Idea is if you are revising more, you will be better than others. That's the whole plan, right? So in all my attempts, I have scored at least 20 marks extra in prelims every time. And this is the approach, not just me. I have told all the students who have followed, 90% of the students have qualified prelims every single time. And this is the reason that you have to work very smartly. Similarly, in science and tech, I told you biotech is one of the most repeated recurring themes. Similarly, you have to prepare something about space tech. Try to use one-pager notes for that, right? Similarly, some things related to information technology. Sometimes they can ask you about augmented reality. Sometimes they can ask you about IoT. Sometimes they can ask you about edge computing, right? Things like that will be there. But finally, you have to focus on this. Then once in a while, they will also be asking about health and diseases, but it will be more or less based on current affairs, right? Similarly, there is defense tech and basic sciences. Maximum 1 or 2 questions from this portion. So there are some very good notes from NCRTs that you can take hold of. So in 15 pages, you can revise everything from the basic sciences point of view: xylem, phylum, cell, etc. Right? So these are some of the most high-yielding topics that you have to prepare. Similarly, I don't ask students to read a very bulky book for history. Idea is, in mains, history will serve very limited purpose. Even in prelims, modern history is obviously predictable, right? But at the same time, there can be some questions that will be bouncers for everyone. But you need not bother about that. You need not bother about getting 180 or 190 score. You have to focus on 120. Anyone who is watching the session, always remember this: whatever strategy I'm telling you, it's for 100 plus, 110 plus. It's not for 150 plus, right? And we need not actually plan for that, right? So I hope you will have some summary notes for you. Whenever you are reading spectrum, if you are not able to recollect something, write it down. After every iteration, it should be internalized, right? Newspapers, journals, whatever acts were there, right? What were the provisions of these acts? So people make these silly mistakes because they have not revised enough. So idea is, make a summary, and to revise also, you can always refer the appendix section of the spectrum as well, right? So make use of that. So if I have to ask you, tell you some basic things, so timeline based revision can be there, personality based. So if you're talking about, say, Tilak, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, what were the books related to him? Newspapers, movements. Similarly, important Congress sessions and their presidents. Similarly, important religious reform movements. Then all the reforms that were conducted by British in education, in police, in judiciary, right? Then you have chronology based question and expansion of British Empire. This should be the last priority, right? So based on this, you can actually approach these subjects. So I hope it is clear to you. Now comes the important part. So let me start asking you. So again, this is a paper of single year. So which is the most dominant part here? So you can see this question, Speaker of Lok Sabha. This question, bill pending in Lok Sabha. This question, Parliament. All the questions can be summarized if you have been smart enough. All these answers, all these questions can be answered if you have made some one-pager notes. I'll show you in this very session that even the Parliament can be summarized in 3-4 pages, and you can revise that again and again and again so that you don't make any silly mistakes, right? Now, something is not working. Right, so this is what I was talking about. So try to make some very short notes, right? So this is again, these were my notes, and I used to compile everything in 15-20 pages, and this used to help a lot, right? So whole Parliament chapter, you will see, can be summarized in 3-4 pages like that, and try to revise it frequently, right? That's the main goal. Why you are revising something? So that you can condense it down, right? Similarly, you have to be smart enough that suppose there are some constitutional bodies, election commission, UPSC, right, finance commission. Many people again spend hours revising that. So how many of you do the same? So better trick is you compile in a smart way. Maybe if you are using digitally, you have Excel kind of thing, where you can actually make a body. And then what are the functions? What are the articles? What's the composition? How is appointed? What's the term? Qualification, removal, resignation, further employment, and ministry related. So something like that, so that you can revise everything maximum 30 minutes, right? That's how, and that's what smart study is all about, right? So I used to revise polity in 2.5 to 3 hours maximum, and this is what you can do. I'm not saying you will do it in the very first day, but idea is you have to revise everything multiple times so that it can be condensed, and finally you can revise it very frequently, and obviously the time will reduce. Maybe in the very beginning you will need around 3-4 days or 5 days or even 10 days to revise polity. How many of you have revised polity, and how much time you approximately take to revise polity? Yes, please comment. Time taken to revise polity. TTRP equals to this much, this many hours, this many days. Okay, that's good. What about others? If I ask you today, you have to revise whole polity, how long will it take for you? Specifically, if you are beginning. Yes, that's good, Priyanshu. So, Priyanshu, this is your which attempt? How many attempts you have given so far? Okay, then you are on a very good path, right? This is what is needed. So, idea is you concise. देखो, I always say this to my students, UPSC is like an ocean. एक समंदर है. It's up to you to actually stand it out, right? बांधना है इसको, strangle it. The more you revise, the better you will get at strangling that vast ocean, right? So how do you actually strangle it? You'll make short notes, you'll make these one pages, but that again will not be the starting point, that will be the end. You will have frequent revisions, you'll have to have frequent revisions, right? So this is the idea that I wanted to talk to you about, right? So this is the list that I have for the statutory and non-statutory bodies, right? Now comes a very important part. I want to show you the utility of standard books. So many of you ignore NCERTs, and I'll show you verbatim the questions that have been asked in UPSC directly from the NCERTs in geography, right? So this is a question directly from Coriolis Force. That is what NCERT has mentioned. Thickness of troposphere, and again thickness of troposphere is greatest at the equator, but because reason is also given, right? So again directly question has been asked. So similarly we are talking about atmosphere. Heat is heated more by incoming solar radiation than by territorial radiation. There's a whole paragraph line by line they have copied from there. Similarly water vapor, it is a gas the amount of which decreases with altitude. Percentages again maximum at the poles, directly quoted from NCERTs, right? So I can go on and show you some more. There is some problem with this, right? So similarly they have talked about annual and daily ranges of temperature, isotherms, right? They have talked about June 21, right? So even this, many of you struggle with this, from where it was asked, how many of the above are the products of volcanic eruptions? They have directly mentioned, I'll zoom it out for you, right? How many of these are products of volcanic eruptions? So read this. The material reaches the ground includes lava, pyroclastic debris, volcanic bombs, ash, dust, and gases, right? So they have directly used the lines of NCERTs as well, right? So this is the utility of NCERTs. That's why I asked you to first go through NCERTs of geography, right? Similarly, if you analyze some previous year questions, you will see there are around 15 to 20 clusters from which questions are being asked in ancient art and culture, right? If I have to start, maybe in Indus Valley civilization, you have Ashokan Empire, you have Mauryan Empire, you have then Harshvardhana, then you have Sangam literature, then you have various dynasties, then you have Mughal Empire, then you have Vijayanagara Empire. These things, if you have 1 page or 2 page notes that you can revise multiple times, and even something like unpredictable, a level of unpredictability is there, but again, you will do better than others, right? Similarly, every year UPSC does give you some giveaway questions, like very lollipop questions, as I say, right? Very easy ones. So you have to find them and make sure you attempt them, right? Many students come to me, so because of time management, these easy questions we were not able to attempt. You cannot do this blunder. So if you analyze previous year questions, you will come to know about this data, that you will have some easy questions that you have to attempt, right? I'll show you how. And finally, if I combine everything, you will have around 80 to 100 topics from which you can actually prepare, and 70 to 80% of the things will be coming from there, right? At least it will be more than enough for your selection. So this is something that you can refer for ancient medieval art and culture. And when I say art and culture, it is a bit unpredictable, but at the same time, you have to understand you have to have some bare minimum, right? So if we are talking about, say, Buddhism is one of the favorite topics, right? So you have to know various avatars of Buddha, right? Bodhisattvas. So again, who is the future Buddha? You must know that this is Maitreya Buddha. Similarly, you must know that Bodhisattva is a recurring theme. So obviously, you have to understand something about them. So Padmapani, where you can locate it at Ajanta. So these are some very basic questions that you cannot obviously think about skipping or making them incorrect, right? I'm not talking about every text that you should know in Jainism or Buddhism, but at least very basic things. First, target that, right? Because if you play your cards right, let me tell you, if you play your cards right, basically in polity, your accuracy can be and should be around 80 to 90%. This is bare minimum for polity. Every year you will have 15 questions, around 15 questions from polity. So at least 13 to 14, you can make it correct, right? Let's make it 13. Similarly, you have your geography, you have your economics, right? From geography, say even 12 out of those, 8 to 9 are very much doable. Similarly, even if we leave current affairs wala part, economy will have 8 to 10 questions. Out of that, conceptual one, around 7 to 8 easily done, right? Similarly, environment. So it will make you to leave that point that yes, I am comfortable now. Now I can take some level of advanced reasoning, right? So you have to understand there are some very important subjects and very important high yield topics that you have to first target, right? Am I clear with this? Now, this is going to be the most important part for you. Always remember this. I don't care whether you are into your first attempt or your second or your fifth. If you are unable to clear prelims, this screenshot will always guide you, right? So I call them the 5 pillars of cracking prelims. So what are these 5 pillars? First thing is you have to understand that static always remains the king, right? Always. So 50 to 60% of your preparation will revolve around static portion. And by static, I have already covered. So these 10-15 chapters of Lakshmikant, this geography, some conceptual notes around economy, right? So these things. So this is what I call static, that you can predict, right? That yes, this is what I have to study. I cannot predict Deshar Katha questions from history, but at least I know Butler Commission. At least I know that yes, in 1813 this was the provisions, right? Now this is the first pillar, and mind you, this will take the most time. So every day, if you are specifically preparing for prelims for now, I'll say devote 5 hours every day for your static part, right? Many people go around chasing current affairs. Sir, yahan se bhi pad liya, wahan se bhi pad liya, ye bhi pad liya, wo bhi pad liya. That I chase a lot of current affairs, 2-3 magazine, 2-3 newspapers, but again, I'm not able to clear prelims. because that is not the main demand of prelims. I have seen people, I was talking to a senior bureaucrat a few days back, and that bureaucrat has been in services for, again, say 28, 30 years, right? And he actually told me that he still solves prelims papers, right? And even after so many years of services, he still scores around 100 marks in prelims. Imagine. I asked him, what's the reason? What's the secret? He said, nothing. I have done my basics right, and now I'm just aware. I read newspaper, that's all. One newspaper every day, and you're good to go. If you have your static covered, it will always remain with you, right? You will never, again, forget how inflation is affecting the economy, right? So these things will be there with you forever. Second thing is, you have to learn from history. And how would you learn from history? Previous year questions will be your guide. So whenever you are starting a topic, you have to start from previous year questions as well. So if you are starting from fundamental rights, first see, based on your understanding, how many of those questions you can make it correct, right? And then read the content wherever you are reading from, Lakshmikant, or your class notes. Then see how much improvement have you made, right? That is the only way you will improve, right? So keep previous year questions with you, and I'll tell you why previous year are important. But mind you, this is the second most important pillar. This forms around next 10-15% of your preparation. So together they forms around 75% of your preparation. Then you have your mock tests, right? If I ask you which book are you referring for history? If I ask you which book are you referring for modern history? So most of you must be referring Spectrum, but many of you may not know Spectrum are the notes of a particular topper, and they have been chasing UPSC. So if UPSC asks some question, they add that chapter. In my time, it used to be around 250 pages book. Now it is around 1000 pages book. Why? Because it's not a book particularly. But I'm not saying you to chase other books. It is more than enough, but now you have to fill the gaps, right? How can you fill the gaps? Try to solve mock papers. History is more or less static, right? So try to solve mocks. From there, you will understand, okay, this is what Gandhiji called Himalayan blunder, right? So this is a question for you as well. Which movement Gandhiji called Himalayan blunder, right? So idea is, it's okay. You may not know some things in history. It's okay. Take it and now write it down in your notes, then revise it. It should not happen the next time the same questions around the same theme comes and still you are struggling. That should not happen. So this is what I mean. When you practice, you are again improving yourself every day. So practice makes an aspirant a topper, right? So it is your guide to actually crack this exam. So you have to practice a lot. So first thing is your static. Second thing is your previous year questions. And then third pillar is your mock tests. So I'll come to that individually as well. But for the time being, understand these three pillars constitutes around your 80 to 90% of the preparation. We have not even talked about current affairs. Why? Because I know current affairs is very important, but at the same time, even if you are reading newspapers, suppose there are 15 questions from current, half of them you already know, right? So 50% you will know if you are reading one basic newspaper, right? Now after this, just one compilation. So if you are a student of Vajiram, we have recitals. It is one of the good ones for you. If you are reading anything else, it's totally up to you. But idea is one newspaper and one compilation, more than enough. If you are joining any classes that makes it easier for you, well done, right? This is what you need. Now, this is it. Because current affairs will actually increase your scores. So if you are scoring around 80, 85, 90, it will take that to 110, 120. But at the same time, if you have done these three things very patiently, if you have done that day in day out, no one can stop your prelim selection. Only thing is you have to revise all these things, right? So even if I'm not talking about current affairs, you have to revise whatever you are reading from previous year questions. So when I say analyzing previous year questions, I say reading the answers, but at the same time analyzing the options. So next time the questions can be framed from there, right? This is the smartness that you have to understand. So the secret to mastering current affairs isn't reading everything, it's reading the right things and connecting them to the static knowledge, right? So you have to understand whatever themes are coming in newspaper. So right now, Supreme Court has given a judgment, right, regarding presidential reference. So first you should know under which article presidential reference comes in. So under which article president can ask for the opinion of Supreme Court? Online students, please comment in the comment box article under which presidential reference is given in under Indian Constitution. If you don't know, read it, right? That's your homework. So basically, yes, very nice, Priyanshu, under article 143. So basically you have to know, yes, this article becomes important. Then why this issue arises? Because governor, Supreme Court earlier 2 judge bench said governor cannot take infinite time, right? It actually restricted the time limit, but now Supreme Court 5 judge bench has actually squashed that judgment. So now article 200 and 201 becomes important. So whatever is there in the current affairs, you have to go back to static to revise that part. I hope it is clear. I have taken a separate video altogether for how to link your current affairs to your preparation. You can also use that video, right? So these are the 5 pillars of prelims that will ensure your prelim success. Now, why previous years are important? First, you have to understand, you have to recognize the pattern, and the pattern recognition will only happen when you have data. How you will collect the data? You will have only one source, right? That is previous year questions. UPSC don't tell you from which book, from which article they are preparing this paper, but yes, you have the history with you. So if you are again reading previous year, analyzing, so first you have to analyze the pattern. I'll analyze the recurring themes and types of questions they have asked across the years, right? Sometimes they go back to the previous year. Okay, so recurring themes means, as I said, whatever list I have compiled, it is based on that, right? So basically, Ashoka is a very important theme in ancient medieval, ancient times, right? So basically, Sangam literature is a very important theme. Buddhism is a very important theme, recurring theme. So this is how you will predict, okay, this is a very important theme that I have to definitely prepare. Similarly, then you have to understand these are the must-know topics versus high-yield topics, basically. So themes are there, then you have specific topics within that, right? Then you have structured revision. So when you know previous year, you know at least these are my highest level points that I have to revise frequently. I cannot miss question from these dimensions. And finally, and it is again one of the most important that many people neglect, it is to understand the mindset of UPSC itself. So UPSC has a way of playing with words, playing with data, playing with dates, right? Again, framing the questions in such a way, right? So if you analyze previous year question, you will again identify some patterns. Some people call it tricks. I don't call them tricks. I call them intelligent guessing, basically because you have analyzed the data. You understand, yes, this is how UPSC do things. Understand one thing, UPSC is a constitutional body. So someone can challenge whatever decision, whatever mark sheet that are there and in the court of law, right? So UPSC has to defend that. So basically, you have to, so they will frame in such a way that it is very difficult to make them again wrong, right? So this is something that you have to understand. So this is about the power of previous year questions. So again, polity is one of the most important subjects. So which subject to prioritize? Polity. What to prioritize in polity? Parliament, right? We have seen that even within a single page, you had those 3 particular questions, right? Similarly, I have these recurring themes for you. Suppose we take geography. So they have already asked about Earth's atmosphere. So insolation regarding that. Similarly, they have asked about in the next year itself, right? Similarly, you have money multiplier question. They have asked that in consecutive years. Okay. Also, UPSC drops some hints for you. If you are smart enough, you will pick them up. So in 1 year, they have mentioned Gandak. In next year, they will ask you to arrange it, right? Similarly, if I take you to other part, so previously, this was, if I'm correct, 2017, they have talked about presidential rule. It was 2019. Next to next year, they have directly copied and asked about Article 356, right? Similarly, this was about International Atomic Energy Energy Agency, and then they have focused on nuclear supply group the other year, right? Not just nuclear supply group, there was this question regarding so additional protocol with respect to International Atomic Energy Agency. So if you analyze the options properly, you will get the hints, right? So UPSC does give you these hints, but again, you have to be smart enough to understand that. Okay, so these are one of the highest yielding topics parliament, right? Also, when you analyze previous year questions, you will understand there will be some very lollipop questions. Lollipop means very easy ones, right? So let's do an exercise with you. So how many of you, please participate with me in this. So try to solve this question. Which of the following is not a feature of Indian federalism? Which of the which of the features is not part of Indian federalism? There is an independent judiciary in India. The powers have been clearly divided. The federating units have been given in unequal representation. And finally, it's a result of agreement among federating units. So what's the answer for this? Yes, what's the answer for this one? Yes. So anyone who has even started to read NCERT, Lakshmikant, they will know that answer is this one. India is not the federation is not an agreement between federating units. So these are some lollipop questions. Similarly, you have this Article 368, Constitution Parliament may amend Constitution by way of addition, variation, or repeal. Which one of them? Similarly, you have this. Which article constitute again gives one's right to marry, right? Person of one's choice. Which article? I hope you will be able to mark it correctly. So similarly, these are recurring themes. Right to privacy is one of the again most loved topics. So they have asked about it in 2018, then in 19 as well they have asked. Right. So I'm trying to tell you, if you analyze previous year questions and its data properly, you can predict some questions. You can level up your preparation. Right. Now, so this is about that. Now let's move on. And again, this is very easier ones. I hope you will be able to solve this. So with reference to Constitution of India, consider the following. No high court shall have the jurisdiction to declare any central law to be constitutionally invalid. Next one, an amendment to the Constitution cannot be called into question by Supreme Court of India. Which of these statements are correct? Please answer this. Which one is correct? Which option? Yes, D, neither. Because obviously high courts can declare any central law to be constitutionally invalid. This is what judicial review is all about. Similarly, amendment can be called into question by Supreme Court of India. This is the basic feature of judicial review. So these are what I call lollipop questions. So you don't have to have a PhD in polity or political science to understand this, or even you don't have to be a UPSC aspirant. If you are just an aware citizen, you will know these answers, right? So this is what I mean. So there will be some lollipop questions every year, 5 to 7. So you cannot skip that. Then what you have to do is you have to give marks. You have to give marks, and then you have to analyze the data, right? So why marks are important? Why marks and previous years combined, why they are important? Because they actually helps you fill the gap. So maybe you have read Spectrum, but as I said, maybe Spectrum is not a authentic book per se. UPSC will not be referring Spectrum. They may be referring some other academic books, but you do not have the time, or even you need not do research on Bandyopadhyay, right? But there is a team working in Vajiram creating quality questions from various books, right? So if you are again solving some mock test papers, you will fill those gaps. And idea is you have to be better than others, right? So if someone knows it, you have to know it as well. Similarly, you will get enough practice for subjects. So many people just flip the pages. Okay, I am reading. I have already read Lakshmikant 5 times. So they are basically passively reading. But issue is, if you are just reading passively, you will not score well, right? Right? It's like watching all the videos on YouTube how to play a straight drive properly, but at the end when you go to field, you will not be able to score 100 because you have not practiced that, right? It's very simple. So basically it will give you enough practice, then it will actually help you, uh, its data will actually help you make a comprehensive analysis, and it will tell you what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what's your accuracy, and whether you are able to do the time management properly or not, right? So basically it will tell you, if you are doubtful in which subjects you can attempt, right? Because based on the history of data, you will understand, maybe because I read newspapers very regularly, so I'm very good in polity based current affairs, or even sometimes I'll say economy based current affairs. But in environment, I do not know many organizations, I do not know various treaties, so maybe if I guess there, it will be harmful for me. So based on this analysis, no one can tell you apart from someone who has sat with you and analyzed all your papers, and obviously you, right? So it's you who is going to solve the mocks, and finally you have to do the analysis, obviously with yourself as well as with the help of someone who can actually guide you, right? And then it will help you to reinforce. So yes, this is something that I can do. So even suppose if you are able to eliminate two options every time, so mathematics says it, and your negative is 1/3, right? So every time you will score, every alternate question you can score, while every 1/3 time you will deduct the marks. So basically mathematically you will get some positive result, but at the same time that will be tested only when you have giving enough number of mocks. People come to me and say, sir, I have solved 10 mocks and I have applied that, I have failed. No, it will not be applicable, because you need proper data. First of all, if you have done just 5 times, it will not work. You have to understand your strengths, your weaknesses, where you go right, where you go wrong, where you can take a bit of risk, and where not, right? That will be based on your history of data. And finally, it will help you prepare for the exam, evolve a strategy that works for you. No mentor, no teacher can tell you, go attempt 100 questions or 95 questions or 60 questions or 70 questions. It is your paper, and based on your practice over the months, you will again fine tune your strategy, what is working for you, right? Don't hear anyone, specifically those who have not qualified themselves, prelims themselves, right? So idea is, again, there will be so many people giving you all the advice in the world, but idea is it has to work for you. And how would you know that it is working for you? Only by applying that in previous year question and your mock test. That's the only way. No one else can tell you that. And finally, my dear students, it will help you build the nerves of steel. Basically, when you are practicing every day, suppose you are a budding cricketer, right? So Virat Kohli did not become that legend in one day or 1 year, right? So they used to practice day in, day out, right? Because when they are practicing, even in World Cup, even in normal series, it becomes normal, natural for them, right? So obviously there is pressure, but at the same time they know it's a normal day. Take it like that. So you have to make it a habit that yes, I will give enough number of marks so that I don't get panic in those exam hall conditions, right? This is what you have to do, and this is what mock test does to you, right? They will help you prepare, get the calmness that is needed for the exam, and not just exam, for that job that you're applying for, right? So in a district there will be so many things going on, and basically there's a lot of chaos, right? So you have to be a calm head under those circumstances, right? So this is what they are testing as well. Now, one important thing for you is, don't be the person that says I know it all. We all are human beings, we all make mistakes, and we learn from them, and we should learn from them. But no one knows it all, right? I see many people, many students, even senior members, they have this thinking habit of knowing it all. Please humbly accept that you are a very tiny creature. you have limited understanding, limited knowledge. So there is always scope for growth, always scope for learning. So don't be that person in the room who knows it all. Okay. Second thing is how it is applicable to you. Obviously, in professional life as well, in personal life, it will help you. But at the same time, in exam hall, you have to understand there will be some questions that you have to leave. I told you in the very beginning, this session is not for them who wants to score 200, 180, 150 marks. It's not for them. It is for them who wants to score more than 100, more than 20, 30 marks more than the cutoff. This is what I want, right? You have to identify which questions you have to leave so that you don't blindly do all the negatives, right? And many of you do this. How many of you could not clear last year's prelims who have given this attempt, last year's attempt, because you did a lot of negatives? Please be honest, right? Please write in the comment box, I'm the one. So you have to understand your limitations. You will not know all the things, and it's okay. You need not know all the 100 questions. Okay. So suppose this was this question at one of the places in India. If you want to stand on the seashore and watch the sea, you will find the sea water recedes from the shoreline a few kilometers and come back to the shore twice a day. And you can actually walk on the sleeper when the water recedes. This unique phenomenon is seen at which place? So obviously you may have some read something, but again, if you're not sure, leave it. Right? Many people actually attempted it, and it was negative for them. Right? And there was this meme. This was asked from a Kit Kat wrapper, and it actually was there. In Kit Kat, there used to be some fun facts, and this was a question in Kit Kat, right? Kit Kat chocolate. But you cannot chase every chocolate. You cannot chase every book, right? So idea it is okay to leave. Similarly, this was this question with reference to the book Deshar Katha, written by Ganesh Deuskar during freedom struggle. Consider the following. It's okay if you don't know this. Right? Your selection, your score in prelims, or your rejection or your selection in prelims will not depend on this question. Right? You have to pick your battles. You have to pick your fights. Okay? So you must know which questions you have to leave. That is very important skill as well. Now, this is the crux of this session: how to use data to actually improve. Right? So first, try to categorize whenever you are attempting a paper to an analysis. Try to identify the gaps. So along these lines, I'm not saying this is a comprehensive list. Maybe you will find some other gaps I have found, but again, this will do for now. So how many questions? Obviously, overall, out of 100, I attempted say 90. Out of these 90, say 50 were correct and 40 were incorrect. So first focus would be why these 40 were incorrect. What was the reason? So you can categorize the reason in any of these, or you can find a metric for yourself as well. So I have seen many people after so many years of experience commit silly mistakes, right? So they, again, the errors which are committed due to carelessness. So not nahi pada, right? I could not read the not properly. Misreading questions or interpretation, or overlooking the details, right? So this is how many of you commit these blunders. I call them blunders, not mistakes, basically blunders. How many of you do that? If you analyze the previous year questions, previous year papers, if you do a proper analysis, and I urge you all, after watching this session, if you have given prelims, well and good. Even if you have not given yet, go through last year's paper, 2025 prelims paper, and try to emulate exam conditions to ours and see and try to do the analysis. How many silly mistakes were there? And you will be surprised, 5 to 12 questions, even more than that, you will find silly mistakes. Right? I knew the answer, I knew everything, but again, somehow I could not make it right. Second thing is factual error. Right? I knew the report, I knew the data. Many of you said this in the very beginning, but I could not pinpoint the data at that point of time. Right? So this is there, factual error. Then you have lack of content. I don't even know about the subject. That's okay, right? Insufficient knowledge. But this lack of revision, forgetting what you have already read. You remember the page number, you remember the side, you remember the paragraph, picture is there, but you cannot pinpoint. And that's why you need revisions. That's why you need notes. I'm not asking you to prepare notes for all the things, but most important things that you forget. Prepare notes and try to revise it multiple times. Finally, you know the concept, but not able to apply that, right? This is one of, again, gaps. You know the concept, you know local administration, but you do not know how to phrase it, right? And finally, many people actually feel defeated just by the looking at the question, or just because in the suppose you have set a first 10, 15, 20 questions were very tough, and you feel like, no, it's not going to happen. Don't again run away. Try to fight. Try to flip through some pages. Go to question number 50 or 75. Start from there, right? Every question have to be attempted. At least you have to try to attempt that. Try to fight for every questions. Sometimes your presence of mind will help a lot. And I've seen this is again one of the major differences between someone who gets selected in prelims and otherwise in the whole list. The presence of mind, calmness under pressure. This is the skill, right? And these are something that will only happen when you take some time out after your prelims paper, every test you give, and try to analyze and work on that. Try to make an Excel sheet, this kind of error, and see how many such errors were there, right? How many of you will do this after the session? Please be very honest. I know many of you will hear this, and some of you will actually do it, but many of you may not, right? And I don't blame you, right? We are living in this information age where we get everything, but again, it's very difficult to actually go to the table and do that. And this is what differentiates an average aspirant to a topper, right? You have to take action. What to take action? So these are the errors, these are the gaps. What to do? So when you are attempting the paper next time, if you have made the silly mistake, try to implement a preempt checklist. Read the question very carefully. Try to underline the keywords and incorporate these mindfulness exercises so that you remain calm, right? So if not is there, maybe just box it out. Yes, this is something I have to remember when I'm marking my answer. If you are eliminating an option, make a cross so that you can eliminate better, right? Similarly, for factual errors, what you have to do is, obviously, you have to make short notes and revise it multiple times. Repetition system you have to establish, right? Engage in quizzes on core concept. Maybe you can create some flashcards, one-pager notes, and finally, all this to achieve multiple levels of revisions. There is no other way. And I must tell you, first focus should be on avoiding silly mistakes, avoiding errors due to lack of revision. Then you will go to application, then you will go to factual, and then you will have something like, okay, I do not have the content. Obviously, you have to, again, maximize, but again, you need not know everything. So how to tackle this lack of content issue? So engage in some specific study modules, lectures if you are struggling somewhere, gap analysis, attend some mentorship, so that they can sit with you and tell you, okay, this is the gap that you have. And finally, you try, maybe at the end, if something is not working out, suppose you have economy, you have read a book, and you're not able to understand or not able to solve the questions, maybe change the source. But that should be the last resort, and see whether your current source can actually serve the purpose. For lack of revision, obviously, the antidote is follow proper revision schedules. Every day, you have to take 1 hour out of your schedule to revise whatever you have read in the day. Every third, fourth day, maybe 2-3 hours for whatever you have consolidated. And at the end of the week, at least, you have to have a separate day of, or at least half a day, so that you can revise everything that you have read in a week. Then after 15 days or 21 days, you have the 3 weeks compilation. That's how you make things stick in your mind, right? There is no other way. You have to follow revision schedules. And obviously, you can have some daily recall sessions, active recall session, weekly revisions or fortnightly test or something like that. Tests also help you learn actively, right? Not just passively. So how to fill that application gap? You obviously have to develop analytical abilities by practicing more and covering some in-depth analysis of a particular topic. And now, how to inculcate presence of mind? Only by practice. Simulate exam conditions, pressure conditions, and then take those mocks and previous years. Try to manage your stress levels, maybe some yoga, meditation in general as well. It will help you in your personal life as well, right? And then you try to reinforce positive self-talk. First, imagine that yes, you are going to qualify. Then you will definitely qualify, right? Visualization is a very powerful tool in that sense. So these are some of the gaps that will be there, and then these are the solutions. Theoretically, it is okay, but finally, practically, you have to go and apply it. That is the most important thing, right? So let's see if you can solve some of these. So this is a question: which of the following are envisaged by the Constitution as right against exploitation under our Constitution? Please solve this. Prohibition of traffic in human beings, abolition of untouchability, protection of interest of minorities, or employment of children in factories and mines. Please solve this. I want you to solve this alongside me in this live session. So we'll understand whether you are on the right track or not. Right? So yes, that is okay. That is correct. What about others? So many of the people get confused. Right against exploitation in general, they think. But what is specifically heading on the Constitution itself? There are only two rights, right? So prohibition of traffic in human beings, and then prohibition of employment of children, right? So this is there. Similarly, these were the questions recently. Consider the following properties included in World Heritage List released by UNESCO. People consider this only. They forgot to mention to see which were included in 2023. And then many of them were like, sir, I knew this, but I could not, again, make it correctly. I could not see because of exam pressure, time management, and all this, all that, right? So whose fault is this? Your fault. You have to be calm enough. You have to manage time, and that will only be there if you manage, if you give out every week a test or something like that, right? Every second day, third day, a week, at least a week, you have to start giving tests, right? So these are some of the silly mistakes. Sometimes you will not, again, see the not in the question. Similarly, application gap. So basically, I'll ask you, right to vote and to be elected in India is a which kind of right? It's fundamental right, natural right, constitutional right, legal right. Which is it? Right? Or you can refer this one, cabinet form of government. Which of the following statement choose the one that brings out the principle underlying the cabinet form of government? Arrangement for minimizing the criticism against government, a mechanism for speeding up activities, a mechanism for parliamentary democracy for ensuring collective responsibility, a device for strengthening the hands of head of government head, right? Which one is it? So basically, people will know, yes, this is cabinet form of government. Or similar questions have been asked. In polity specifically, they will ask you definition of liberty, protection against tyranny of political rulers, absence of restraint, opportunity to do whatever you like, or opportunity to develop oneself. Which is it? Finally, you can ask this one. You can answer this one. In the context of Indian polity, which of the following would you accept as the most appropriate definition of liberty? Right? This is many of this, even senior. I'm not saying this is a very simple question, but again, if you are conceptually sound, you will not be confused. Protection against tyranny of the political parties. This only partially describes it. In a positive connotation, it is the opportunity for yourself to develop oneself fully according to your potential. That is what true liberty is. It's not absence of restraint. Obviously, you will have some limited rights and freedoms, right? Because this is a social contract. So idea is you will not make these silly mistakes. That's not an option. You have to fill these application gaps by practicing. And finally, you have to be a problem solver, right? Try to fight in every question. Try to fight and try to apply your presence of mind. So even if you have not studied, try to answer this question. With respect to Chauset Yogini temple situated in Morena, consider the following. It's a circular temple built during the reign of Kachila Padara dynasty. It is the only circular temple built in India. It was meant to promote Vaishnavite cult. Its design has given rise to popular belief that it was the inspiration behind Indian Parliament building. Which one is it? Here I want you to understand your innate desire to arrive at an answer. So basically, you can at least eliminate this one. It is the only circular temple built in India. India is a vast country. You cannot surely say, okay, this is the only temple. And once you delete it, delete second option, this is deleted, this is deleted, this is deleted. Now you arrive at the answer. So this is the process. You try to eliminate some of the options and then you try to come to answer, whether it can take me nearer to my answer. Maybe there may be some other option, but at least it will get you to 50-50 kind of thing, right? No one in UPSC can come out with all the, again, they may have read everything, but at the end, no one is 100% sure all the time. So you have to take some kind of intelligent guessing, and these are some of the methods which will take you there, right? Similarly, this is a question. Many chewing gums found in market are considered a source of environmental pollution. Many chewing gum contain plastic as a gum base. So many people don't even read these kinds of questions. They accept the defeat. I'm not good at these statement based questions. At least read it. Yes, it's very probability is very high. Many chewing gums are considered a source of pollution, right? Obviously they may contain some plastic as base as well. So again, this is very much true. So you can always attempt it. Again, this is one of the very popular questions. At that point of time, not many knew it, but M stripes sometimes in news. No, not for CSAT. Not for the idea is, Priyanshu, if you're talking about eliminating options, yes, it is that you at least eliminate. I'll cover a separate session for CSAT. But if you are trying to ask, yes, this is definitely incorrect, then it's okay. You make it incorrect and then go with other ones. But in CSAT, you had just to qualify. So don't take much chances unless and until you are sure. In CSAT, they will give you enough number of questions to actually reach that 67 marks limit, right? We'll cover that in some other session. So what is M stripes? Even if you don't know, try to apply your mind live. Here only, I want you to apply your mind. M stripes sometimes in news, seen in context of captive breeding of wild fauna, indigenous satellite navigation system, security of national highways. M stripes. Who has stripes? Maybe cheetah, right? So yes, maintenance of tiger reserves. Maybe you will have, okay, they must be moving, tigers must be moving, right? So yes, what's number? So maintenance of tiger reserves seems to be the most plausible option, even if you don't know what is it. What I'm trying to tell you is, don't give up. Try to apply your brain and see whether it seems good. If it does, then mark it. I'm not saying mark all the questions, but yes, sometimes you have to take that risk, right? Okay, so these are some of the things that I wanted to show you. So I hope you will learn from them, right? So I also want you, again, some mushrooms have medicinal properties, some mushroom have psychoactive properties, some mushroom have insecticidal properties, some mushroom. So obviously in this vast biodiversity, flora and fauna, we may find some mushroom. This is some, right? So idea is, if you practice UPSC papers, unless and until you are sure that yes, this is incorrect, probability is it will be correct, you will find some mushroom, they may have some medicinal properties. So obviously you can go with all four, right? So try to make it a habit of arriving at answers. This is the habit. Again, this is one of very good questions. Ninth schedule was introduced in constitution during prime ministership of whom? So many people say, sir, we just knew what ninth schedule was. We didn't knew who was the prime minister. If you have been a curious aspirant, I'll ask you one question. Which was first Constitutional Amendment Act? Which was first Constitutional Amendment Act? Please write it down. Priyanshu, Arun, others. Which was first Constitutional Amendment Act? It was related to what? Please apply your mind. So first constitutional amendment, there may have been various cases. Honorable Prime Minister, late Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru was there for around 13-14 years, right? So first constitutional amendment act, that was related to land reforms, and then they had to put some things into ninth schedule, right? It was basically because of the creation of ninth schedule. So if you know that history, at least common sense, you will mark it right. Jawaharlal Nehru. Similarly, people get distracted with the language. This is again a very big question. Just see it. It is trying to interconnect various things. So it is about Internet of Things. Try to read it. Okay? So idea is, don't give up. This is the most important lesson. This is the most important lesson I want to give you. Don't give up. Try to make it a habit to try to reach to the answers. Fail many times, fail again and again, and this is your, again, pre-season, right? If you are starting, try to solve previous question and mock test. It will give you the advantage, especially for the first year. If you have already done that, I'm not asking you to do all those things all over again, but you need a base, right? So always remember, your static part, your previous year, and your mocks will largely decide your selection in prelims, right? So with that, this is what I want to convey. Now let's give you a scientific revision strategy. I don't recommend, particularly if you have experience, that yes, you start prelims right now. But the idea is, obviously you start, but you don't start wholeheartedly if you have experience, right? If you have given 2-3 prelims, you have some basic understanding of prelims, you have some, again, you have read Lakshmikant Spectrum, you have to revise them, right? Maybe you have around 70, 75 last year, even 60s. But if you are in 30s, 20s, if you are just attempting for the first time, now it's a good time to integrate prelims preparation, right? For someone who is failing prelims most of the times, right? So maybe last 2-3 prelims they have failed, so at least 2 hours every day you include. If you're confident, you can start later. If you are just a newbie, you are starting, then this is the time to integrate preparation. For next 2 months, you do the integrated preparation till January. Then you full-fledgedly go to prelims preparation, right? So for the first phase, you read your NCRTs, you complete your NCRTs, some standard books. Along with that, you solve your previous year questions. You do some analysis. So by the time of January, you integrate everything. You integrate previous year, you have some sort of mastery over previous year questions and analysis. Then you will also have some tests, and then consolidate your tests. And then finally, this is a time you will again do a lot of test based preparation, previous year question based preparation. But every day, if I'm talking about January or February, every day 5 hours to your static part, it has to be given. You cannot neglect the revision. Revision has to be the priority. Then you have, every day you may give 30 minutes to 1 hour maybe for your previous year questions. Then every alternate day, or every even sometimes some people give a more number of mocks, so every alternate day you can give a mock. And then you have 1-2 hours slots for your current affairs preparation, right? So this is how you can start by January. Before that, you can integrate mains and prelims prep with you, right? And finally, in this last phases of mid-March, mid-February or March, by mid-February, you have to dedicate yourself to brutal revision. And even after February, you have to do at least 3 to 4 iterations of revisions, right? Whatever you have learned, your basic notes, whatever notes you have taken out from previous year question, and your tests, that again becomes part of your notes. And then you revise that multiple times, including your current affairs, right? So this is a roadmap for you. And again, always remember, data will only support you. At the very end, what you need is calmness under pressure, nerves of steel, as I say, right? So for that, you focus on proper stress management. You have a routine. If you have a routine, chances of success becomes very high, right? Someone who is not consistent may not get through this exam. consistency is one of the most important things. Then you have to track your progress regularly. You have to revise smartly. You have to have some sort of support system. If you have some brother who already in service, brothers or sisters, and they can check on you, they can give you feedback, that's okay. Otherwise, you can have some peer support, some mentor support, that whatever you want, right? At the end, you have to keep your self belief at the very high level, right? So so if you want, if you can do all of these things alone, then all the very best. I have no qualms. But at the same time, if you want any support, right? If you have been struggling in prelims, if you this is your first prelims and you want to make it your best one, right? Then we have something very special for you. We are launching Step Up Express batch that is exclusively for prelims, right? So exclusive batches are launched, which is based on data-driven strategies and proven mentorship, right? What you will get in Step Up, you again, this is starting from 1st December. The batches will start from 1st December, and fees will be this much. You can scan the QR code and you will get all the details. What you will basically get is basically you will have one-to-one mentor. I told you, right? You need feedback. You need how to improve in the test, right? Some people can do it, one person can do it, but others need help, right? So the mentors will provide you all the help in the prelims prep. So one-to-one mentorship is there. But not just that, we will cover around 60 tests through prelims camp. And prelims camp is like test and teach model. You will write the test and then there will be a discussion shortly after, right? So that you do a very thorough analysis of what went right and what went wrong. And finally, you also have current affairs classes with you, right? So current affairs for prelims will be there. It will sort out all the issues that people, students, aspirants face in prelims preparations of current affairs. So these are 3 core elements, and much more will be given to you. So it is commencing on 1st December. But again, always remember, this alone is a 15,000-20,000 course. This alone, prelims camp is a 10,000-15,000 course. And finally, you are getting a mentor, right? So basically 15 plus even 10, so 25,000 is for this much, and you will get a one-to-one mentor that will be there alongside you throughout your preparation. You can ask doubts, you can solve mocks with them, you can actually help take help from them to analyze your mocks. Everything will be covered, right? So if this is something that you want, you can join our prelims express batch. Otherwise, for 2026, we also have prodigy batch, where we are selecting 100 best students, which will get many other features. So you can download the brochure, but highlights are basically you will be provided some conceptual classes, you will have prelims camp, you will have even mains camp. If you qualify prelims, you will have mains test series, you will get mentorship directly by program heads, that is me and my other colleague, right? So basically, along with the mentors, you will have access to me as well, right? So again, first batch is launched. We are trying to find some very dedicated people only, right? Aspirants, I know there will be several things in the market, but idea is we want very sincere students who are willing to give their best. So if you want to know about any of these programs, these are the features of prodigy batch, right? So again, you can take a screenshot or you can download the brochure itself, right? Now, if you have any other question, I will be happy to take that. If those are covered, then we'll wrap up this session. So if you have any questions, you can write in the comment box. Yes, I'll do that. I'll try to provide that. Are you part of Vajiram in some way, Priyanshu? You can come and meet me at 3rd floor, step up, Vajiram 7B. We can discuss that part as well. Any question from your end? All right, if there are no questions, we'll wrap up this session. We'll end this session. I hope you have understood what it takes to clear prelims exam. you will it's in both the modes. It will be online as well as offline. Don't worry about that part. You scan the QR code that was there, right, and you will be able to find all the details of the program, right, both the programs. Basically, you visit Vajiram website as well, right? So this is for today's session. I hope you have learned a lot. Thank you for watching this session. All the very best.